LR Bio Broly is indestructible. So how should you build his hidden potential? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are taking a look at the new Prime Battle LR Bio Broly and figuring out what may be his best hidden potential route. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. So, this guy's a Prime Battle LR, so he is an uncontrollable power, category key 4, HP attack and defense 150%. He has an 18 key that greatly raises attack and defense for the turn, causing major colossal damage, and his 12 key is greatly raising attack for the turn, while also lowering the enemy's attack. So in most cases, it's obviously best to go for his 18 key. However, if you're in a fight where you need to attack lower, then the 12 key might be very, very beneficial to you. So moving on to his passive, he has an instance animation that he activates once only, and while it's activated, he can get key 8 up to 10 randomly at the start of the turn and recovers 26% HP at the end of his attacking turn, and launches an additional super attack for 4 turns from his entry turn when there's another uncontrollable power ally on the team at his entry turn. He also gets key 3 and a high chance of performing a critical hit. He has attack and defense 180% and reduces damage received by 30% and performing a super attack. He reduces damage received by 30% when all allies are uncontrollable power, and an additional chance of performing a critical hit up to 6, and damage reduction up 6% up to 30 with each turn passed. And starting from the 7th turn from these entry turn, his damage reduction rate begins to fall at 6% with each turn passed, no more than 30%. So he can get all the way up to 90% damage reduction, although averaging about 60 after that. Now, he does have an active skill that massively raises his attack temporarily, causes ultimate damage, gives him guaranteed guard, and directs all attacks towards him for the turn. And it simply can be activated as long as all allies are uncontrollable power, and it is beyond the 6th turn, which is perfect because beyond the 6th turn, on that turn 7 or turn 8, depending on when he started, he will have 90% damage reduction. Combine that with guard, it basically means he takes 0 damage. This is really good. So then it begs the question, well, what do you have him do? You have a character whose main function here is to defend, and even while he's defending up to that turn 7, post super, he's pretty indestructible. Very few things can actually hurt him aside from an early Cell Max super, or possibly like an Evo Ken super or something. But I mean, realistically, everything else beyond that point, once you get to the point where it's actually dangerous for him, you have his active skill condition, or you have cell maxes, right? That's the thing about this guy. He's basically designed to sit as a floater, or maybe even as the 2nd slot, build up to that turn 7, you buy yourself a turn in the end of the fight where it's usually the most dangerous, buy yourself a turn so your big attacking characters can get their damage out and give you a free turn of 0 damage. That's basically what that is. So knowing that, what is the best hidden potential route for him, right? So looking here, if we look over on the Dokkan Wiki at our handy dandy candy potential guide, we see that as a Fizz type, right, he has a natural additional attack. That means if you invested fully in additionals, he would have a full 20% additionals, which means 40%. That means he has a 40% chance of launching a 50% super, right? Add to that, any skill orbs you may invest, and we're talking about a 50% chance to do an addition. Basically, a high chance to do an additional super attack is what this means. Now, do I think that is the best route? For once, I actually don't, right? Unless you're really trying to focus in on his attack lowering, but knowing that his main function is defense, right? I actually think this also plays into the fact that he doesn't lose his damage reduction rate when he's off rotation, from my understanding. So he basically stays where he's at while as long as he's on rotation, he builds. And then he doesn't lose until after turn 7. So knowing that, I actually think it might be beneficial to go full dodge on him, right? That means a maximum of 25%, possibly maybe 27 to 28 dodge, depending on your skill orb, meaning a 28% chance to evade. I think that extra 28% chance, while not crazy on him, it makes sense because you really don't need him to do anything else. He doesn't gain anything offensively from being able to attack more or crit, and he also already has 50% crit in his passive already. So he has additionals built in already. So he doesn't really need those things because they aren't going to make too much of a difference for him. Remember, he doesn't gain any extra defense on his 12 key, so the additional 12 key super only serves to offer attack lowering, and that's really only useful in events where that can be done, like Gogeta, for example. The critical hit, like I said, 50% chance to crit. He doesn't really deal damage anyways, so crit doesn't really help him, right? The rest of your team on uncontrollable power, which is mostly Broly's, is good enough to handle that damage. He doesn't need it. It's not going to be helping him in any way. So knowing that, evasion seems to be the best way to go. So I would say full dodge on him and then sub the additionals, because he absolutely does not need the crit. He's not going to deal damage. He won't benefit from it at all. So it's one of the few units I would recommend doing this. I don't often make this recommendation for full dodge because oftentimes I find that the trade-off is not quite there. But a case like this where it's a free-to-play unit who has had an instant EZA, which means he's not getting any better than this, it kind of just makes sense to utilize what he's good at. Be defensive and kind of control your rotations. That's his function. That's what all target function is. He's like a mini Cell Max, except without the offense. That's what he is. And right, with you be kind of running it the same way. So I definitely think that dodge is the way to go. So guys, that is it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, how did you build your LR Prime Battle Bio Broly? I went full dodge and sub additionals. First time in a very long time, but I'm curious to know how you built yours. Let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.